Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we are continuing this chapter number one. Today we are covering shlok number 4, 5, and 6. So we'll read the shloka and translation, and then we'll go to the purport. So the first shloka. Atra Shura Maha Ishu Asa Bhima Arjuna Samayudhi Yuyudhana Virata Drupat Maharatha. Translation by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Here in this army are many heroic women equal in fighting to Bhima and Arjuna, great fighters like Yuyudhana, Virata, and Drupada. Anybody would like to read the second next shloka, shloka number 5?
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी
Hare
धन्यवाद
Krishna.
प्रणाम सुनिए हरे कृष्णा भगवत गीता 1.5 दृष्टकेतुश्च चेकित चेकितान काशीराजश्च वीर्यवान वन सेकंड प्रभु जी हरे कृष्ण ओके हरे कृष्ण चेकितान काशीराजश्च वीर्यवान् पुरुजित् कुन्तिभोजश्च शैब्यश्च नरपुङ्गवः Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. There are also great, heroic, powerful fighters like Drishtaketu, Chekitana, Kashi Raja, Purujit, Kunti Bhoja, and Shaibya.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare
I
Krishna.
want to take shlok number 6.
May I, Prabhuji?
Hare Krishna, Mataji, please.
Bhagavad Gita 1.6 युधामन्युश्च विक्रान्त उत्तमौजश्च वीर्यवान् सौभद्रो द्रौपदेयाश्च सर्व एव महारथाः. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki jai. There are the mighty Yudhamanyu, the very powerful Uttamauja, the son of Subhadra, and the sons of Draupadi. All these warriors are great chariot fighters. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Okay, so yesterday we discussed in one of our slide on Duryodhana, and we saw that he was provoking Dronacharya. So, though Duryodhana was having the army size which is larger than Pandava's army, still he was nervous because he saw that apart from Arjuna, there are many great warriors fighting against him. And that was the main reason why even Duryodhana, he was little nervous. Though he was having the great Dronacharya with him, he was having great Bhishma with him, still he was little anxious and nervous. So in these three shloka, if you see, there are mention of many great warriors who were fighting against Duryodhana. So you see these three shlokas, the description was about their greatness. So we'll touch upon some of these great warriors, their past life and their present life. We may not touch upon all of them, but we'll try to cover few of them due to the limitation of time. So you see that in this slide, it talks about a lot of things, where it talks about this Bhagavad Gita is not just a historic book or a philosophical book, right? It is a spiritual manual. And even these great warrior names that have mentioned have Sanskrit significance. So you see all this Duryodhana, then Drona, Arjuna, then Kashi Bhoja, then so many warriors' name were mentioned here, right? So the ultimate thing is, and the key point that we have to remember is, it's a spiritual manual, and we many times mentioned that it's a user manual in Kali Yuga for all of us, whether it is a devotee or non-devotee. It should be taken as a user manual. And we also discussed that whenever we buy some instrument like fridge or washing machine, we get a user manual to know how to operate that particular instrument. Otherwise, what will happen? The instrument will get damaged. Similarly, in our life, if we don't read Bhagavad Gita as a user manual, we try to behave like Duryodhana or the Kauravas. So the important concept here covering is that Nirbandhe Krishna Sambandhe. So what is Nirbandhe? Nirbandhe means to bind. And Krishna is the Lord and Sambandhe is the connection. So all the soul has to actually bind himself with Krishna. He has to make a sambandh or connection. And this complete list that we are seeing, the military list, the big names. So these are actually, they are the Krishna's energy. So that is what it is trying to depict here. So you see that you consider, so we'll take the analogy of a software. So many may not have the complete understanding of the internal of the software, but you take the example of your mobile phone because everybody is having his mobile phone. So inside the mobile phone, what you have, it is the software which actually run that phone. So you see that inside the mobile, there are different components. Some component you may call it as features, and some there are bugs. So those who don't know what is bugs in software, features anyway everybody knows. Features are like, you have your WhatsApp or you have some settings or some other application. These are nothing but the features inside the software. So every software application have this kind of features. But what are these bugs? Bugs are some, you compare it as like a demons, which can corrupt your software, right? So we compare, if we see this complete system design of your mobile, you have features and you have these bugs. So you can compare it like this. The features are devotees and these bugs are actually demons. So these devotees are the good qualities of your software. So you see this complete universe is one big, consider it as a one big mobile. And within that you have these features which are devotees, which you can compare with these names, big names that we have just reading in these shlokas. May it be Arjuna, Bhishma, or, and there are some demons, right, or bugs like Duryodhana, Dhritarashtra. These are bugs. But you see, these are all Krishna's energy only. And you see, this complete Nirbandhe Krishna Sambandhe is actually a complete network, Krishna's energy and Krishna's network. So you have to read it like this. So everyone, so like, your mobile, after some time, you update your mobile, or you update the software inside your mobile so that it can function correctly. So you see, every system has to actually reset or upgrade. You upgrade your mobile, you upgrade your software so that you are actually in line with the system. So this grand system update is always happening, right? But the center point is Krishna. So in your life also, you see, here the center point is Krishna. So some work against it and some work in favor of it. So in your mobile also, the features, these features are like the pure intentions, the service or humility. And the bugs on the other sides within our body, or you take within inside the mobile, these bugs you can compare with, in our body you can compare it like your ego, like your pride, jealousy. These are the bugs within our body, right? So now in mobile, if you have some bugs, it can damage your application. Like that, in your body, if you have bugs like ego, pride, and jealousy, it can damage your life. So now you see that key in this battlefield, who are the bugs and who are the great features. So you have devotees, you have demons, right? So, but everything it is mentioned at this is a Krishna's network. Now we have seen this agitation of Duryodhana. So Srila Prabhupada also compared with this analogy where he says कि in a farmland, when you see a farmer, he never hate these weeds, right? You have the rice growing in the farmland, and along with the rice, there are weeds, right? These weeds nobody wants. It has to be destroyed. So the farmer destroy these weeds so that the rice can grow properly. And then we see that Duryodhana, he goes to Dronacharya to remind Dronacharya that don't be soft on your favorite student Arjuna, because Dronacharya, he was a guru, a teacher, and every teacher have a favorite student, and Dronacharya's favorite student was Arjuna, and he was fighting against him. So Duryodhana is reminding his teacher, कि you don't be soft against your student. So he was actually provoking. And you see that Duryodhana, he was also restless and unrighteous, right? So that was his background. Though he may be having 11 Akshoni of army, whereas Pandavas having only 7. Still he was having fear, right? And then we see that Duryodhana, he is comparing Bhima and Arjuna with many other warriors, right? So not only Bhishma and Arjuna is the great warrior. There are many others in that battlefield. So that is why in the shloka, if you see, he is mentioning Bhima, Arjuna, Sama. So equivalent to Bhima and Arjuna. So some of the names were mentioned there. So we will not cover all of them, but we'll touch upon them. So one of them is this Yuyudhana. He is a very critical figure. He is a Vrishni, that is from Krishna's clan. And he is also Arjuna's best student. So this also shows that he, in the Pandavas side, there were warriors who was having very deep internal knowledge about Kaurava's fighting style. That is also one of the reason why Duryodhana was very much worried. Because you see that every war there will be some spies, right? So you may be hearing the names of Mossad or IDF. They have internal spies who goes into the opposite enemy's territory and try to find out some loopholes. So like that, in Pandava's army, there were some of the warriors who was having the inside knowledge of Kaurava's fighting style. So this is also one of the reason why Duryodhana was very in tension. And then there was mention of the name of Drupada and Virata, right? So we'll hear their past stories as well. Ki Drupada and Drona, right? They were childhood friends, but later they become enemies. So there are other warrior mentioned here, Kashi Raja, right? Then Kunti Bhoja, and so many others. So if you are aware, last time also we touched in our class the pastime of Bhishma and Princess Amba. So as we know that Bhishma, he took a vow that for the lifelong he will not marry, just to ensure that his father happiness, he took this vow. So, but he was having a half brother by name Vichitra Virya, and he was trying to search brides for his half brother, this Vichitra Veera. So he abducted forcefully three princes of Kashi kingdom, who were the princess Amba, Ambika, and Ambalika. So Bhishma, he kidnapped these three princes and he wanted them to marry Vijitra Virya, his half brother. Now, later Amba, this princess Amba, she revealed that she is in love with King Salva. So Bhishma was very righteous person. So he released her. But what happened when Amba went to Salva, the King Salva, he rejected her because he was touched by another man, Vishnu. So this princess Amba, she returned back to Bhishma and demanded that he should marry her because because of Bhishma, her life is ruined. But Bhishma, he took a vow, right? So he refused. So this princess Amba, she was very furious and she was very much angry with Bhishma. And she performed a very extreme penance to please Lord Shiva. And she asked Lord Shiva to give her power to kill Bhishma. And Lord Shiva said, ki okay, granted, boon granted. When you rebirth, you will be able to be the reason of killing Bhishma. And that is how she reborn as Shikhandi. And she was born as a child of King uh, Drupada. And we know that Bhishma, he also took a vow that he will lower his bow against a woman. He will not find a fight against any woman. So that is how Shikhandi become a loophole used by Pandavas to bring down Bhishma. As we all know, it was not possible for Pandavas to fight against Bhishma. So you see, these all Leelas were very nicely organized by Lord Krishna. And then you see, we mentioned about this Drupada and Drona. They were, in childhood time, they were best friend who studied under the same guru, Drupada and Drona. But Drupada was prince, whereas Dronacharya was a poor Brahman. But during the childhood, this Drupada promised Dronacharya that I will share half of my kingdom with you one day. And later, after many years, what this Drupada did, when Dronacharya approached Drupada for help, so King Drupada, that time he was in very pride. He mocked his friend Dronacharya. And he said that the friendship can only occur in equals. But you see yourself, you are a beggar and I am a king. So that way, he threw Dronacharya out of the Drupada's kingdom. So Dronacharya, that way, he wanted to take a revenge. And that is why he actually trained, in order to take that revenge, he trained Pandavas and Kauravas. He became a guru of both Pandavas and Kauravas just to take that revenge. And to get that revenge from Drupada, he asked this Pandavas and Kauravas for Guru Dakshina. In Guru Dakshina, he asked to capture Drupada. So that way, Arjuna, he actually succeeded to take back half of the Drupada's kingdom and give it to Dronacharya. So in another pastime, we'll see what happened. Even this Drupada, he performed a massive fire sacrifice, yagna, right? Because again, now he wanted to take revenge. So take revenge from who? From this Dronacharya. So Drupada performed a fire sacrifice, and from that fire sacrifice, who emerged? Drishtadumna. So Dronacharya, we discussed last class, Dronacharya was very much aware that Drishtadumna is going to kill him. Even then, he actually trained him, right? So then what happened? Actually, this from Drupada, two child was born. One we know, this Drishtadumna, another was Draupadi. And we saw that he also wanted Arjuna to marry Draupadi. So now that was how Drupada wanted to take revenge from Dronacharya. And then you see the mention of this name, Kunti Bhoja. Kunti Bhoja, who was Kunti Bhoja? Kunti Bhoja was the king of Kunti kingdom. And Kunti Bhoja was a very close friend of Saurasena. Saurasena was actually grandfather of Krishna. So Saurasena had a daughter by name Pritha. So anybody know who is Pritha actually?
Kunti.
Kunti,
Yes,
Maharani Kunti.
yes. So Pritha. So Saurasena daughter name was Pritha. Now we mentioned that Saurasena and Kunti Bhoja both were very close friends. But Kunti Bhoja was childless. That is why Saurasena, he promised him, कि my firstborn child, I will give it to you. So Saurasena's firstborn child was Pritha, which it was given to Kunti Bhoja. So that was the history of Kunti. So later Pritha becomes Kunti. Now if you see about this Kunti Bhoja, right? Kunti Bhoja was known for his extreme discipline and hospitality. So one day what happened? Sage Durvasa. We all know Durvasa Muni was very short-tempered. So one day, the sage Durvasa, he visited the palace of Kunti Bhoja. So everybody knew that ki Durvasa Muni, if he give curse, then anything can happen. So that is the reason Kunti Bhoja was a little anxious and he wanted to commit even a small mistake. He wanted to avoid committing a small mistake. So that is why this Kunti Bhoja, he assigned his young daughter Kunti to serve the sage Durvasa. So then what happened? Kunti actually served Durvasa Muni with such a patience and devotion for one complete year that Durvasa Muni was deeply impressed. He was very much impressed with Kunti. And he rewarded Kunti. How? By teaching her a divine mantra, and that mantra by name Atharva Veda. So with this mantra, it will allow Kunti to call any devata and have a child by them. And that is how actually Kunti spoke that mantra, and that allowed her for the birth of Pandavas, Yudhishthira, Bhima, and Arjuna, Karna. So you see that without this King Kunti Bhoja's disciplined upbringing, it was not possible to see these heroes Pandavas or the Bhagavad Gita, right? It would have never won. And then also Duryodhana, he is seeing that there is the other generation also standing in front. Duryodhana is seeing, he's admitting that all these Maharathis include the next generation like Abhimanyus, right? The son of Draupadi. They were also mentioned by Duryodhana as Maharathis. And he is mentioning that the single Maharathi can fight against 10,000 fighters. So that is why they are mentioned as Maharathis. And so all these even Prabhupada is mentioning here that all these innocents like Abhimanyu, they will die even though they were innocents. So for a devotee, leaving this body in Krishna's presence is actually a ultimate promotion. It is not called as death. It is actually called as death in material senses, but it is actually homecoming. Not only these great warriors, but even the demons, the bugs, right? We discussed, they are also ultimately will get promotions because they were killed by Krishna. So the promotion will happen. And it is mentioned that the ultimate truth will only win. It can be never destroyed. Right? So these are some of these warriors. And then Prabhupada is mentioning that ki, this world, what we call as Maya or false, it is actually temporary. Just like he's giving an analogy of this house. This house, falsely, we call it as our own. Actually, you live in that house and you claim that it is my house, but actually, not forever you are going to stay there. Right? But you see how we attach with our relatives or our house as if we are going to permanently stay there forever. So all this Maya or false, what we are calling, this is actually temporary. Whatever is temporary, we call it as Maya or false. Right? So the goal of Bhagavad Gita is to teach us to see Krishna even in war zone. That is what Prabhupada is mentioning in the purport. And okay, on to next. Yeah. So you see that he is also mentioning about dharma and adharma. And you see that uh, a principle called, uh, we often say that jo dar gaya wo mar gaya, right? So you see, last time we discussed about the Vishada, Arjuna's Vishada. So Arjun was very in anxiety, right? Though he was in the right side, he was having anxiety, the Vishada. Whereas if you see Duryodhana, he was also having anxiety. So now both are having anxiety. One because of the ego. Duryodhana was having anxiety because of the ego protection. He wanted to protect his ego. That is why he was anxiety. And but on the other side, Arjun, he was having anxiety because he was feared that he will hurt. He was sad. He thought he will kill his relatives and his guru. So that is why he was having anxiety. So you see both the side, good side, bad side, both side, they were dharma, adharma, both side anxiety. But whoever in the side of Krishna, he will be actually be able to achieve the goal. So that is how actually Bhagavad Gita teaches the principles and the goals, how to be in the right side. Because even in the right side, you will have all these problems. So as I mentioned that key in the mobile, you not only have features, you also have bugs, right? That can destroy your mobile. So within our body also, you will have not only you have to be in the dharma side, you have to understand what is adharma. So that is what is also mentioned about. I think I have not in this slide that four pillars. think this is not there. The four pillars of adharma. What are those four pillars of adharma? Anybody remember? What are the four pillars of adharma? That is why Prabhupada mentioned about the principles, regulative principles, because those are the four pillars of adharma. What are those four
Illicit,
pillars?
illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, gambling.
Yeah. So these are the four pillars of adharma. So we have to remember that. So Duryodhana's life, the entire kingdom was based on the pillar of gambling, the dice game. So we saw the result, what happened, right? So these four pillars of adharmas are intoxication, gambling, illicit sex, and meat eating. Because we talked about the Nirbandhe Krishna Sambandha. This connection with Krishna will get broken if any of these adharma pillars, if you are standing on that. So we know whoever was attached, like Duryodhana's life, what has happened. So it is also compared as lost packets in software, where you find disconnected with Krishna, then these kind of things will happen, right? So I think we are concluding here. So the final call of action for us. So don't let the Gita remain in your bookshelf. In fact, you should dovetail with the unique talent or service of truth. Whatever every day you are doing your daily work, how you can actually bring Krishna into that, and you transform your Vishada into yoga. We discussed how Arjun was into Vishada and it was converted into a yoga. Correct? So that is how through Gita we transform that Vishada into yoga in your daily life. Whatever you are doing, continue to do that, but just see that you are not in those pillars, four pillars of adharma, but in the pillar of dharma to serve Krishna. Whatever you are doing, office work or your uh, kitchen work or any kind of work you are doing, you serve it to Krishna, keep it in his center, and make all your Vishada, because all these bugs will always keep on existing in your life. All your egos and your pride and all kind of Vishadas. So you make them into yoga. That is the motive of Bhagavad Gita. So just don't let it be in your bookshelf, but implement this. So with that, we'll end this. So thank you, Prabhujis and Matajis. Anybody want to share anything or want to correct anything? Please, 1 or 2 minutes we'll discuss.